Right. It is 10:30. We've got a few more people that have arrived already. We're expecting a few more, so hopefully they'll be joining us within the next few minutes. First and foremost, welcome to this BMA webinar, the latest in our Lessons From series, covering the trade shows that the BMA has visited, and this is a double header in this instance between KBIS and KBB. It's also a double act, so I'm going to be joined by my colleague Jane Blakeborough, who I think everyone looking down the list of attendees is familiar with. And without any further ado, over to you, Jane, to do the first part of the presentation.
Okay, great, thank you. Hi, everybody. So the first bit is really design trends from KBB Birmingham. And we all had a bit of a contribution towards this, and we felt that even though there was some really big players missing from the show, the stands that were there were really, really good. And there were some key trends that came out of those that I'm just going to run through quickly. So first of all, what we've seen in all the trade shows that we've been to is that black is now just commonplace through all design focused bathrooms. And even when we've been doing the research with consumers, then black is now just the new chrome, really. But what we saw at KBB was gold, a lot of gold, which is quite unusual because gold has been out of fashion for such a long time, but it seems to be on every stand at KBB, and particularly brushed gold. So that was interesting to see. So that seems to be the next finish that's coming through in brassware. But also wanted to just point out gunmetal. I mean, I call it gunmetal. I'm not quite sure what everyone. I think, Tom, you call it brushed nickel, but it's this sort of soft black finish that I'm showing here. Now, this was on quite a few stands, and actually it's an absolutely beautiful finish. So I'd be quite happy to see that coming through instead of gold. But so I think it's a battle between gold and gunmetal at the moment for brassware finishes. The next thing that was quite interesting was the amount of pink that was shown at KBB, and actually was shown in quite a few of the other shows that I've been to. But certainly at KBB, it really did come through as a key colour in the bathroom, and certainly this sort of soft pink that we've got here, which is like a blush pink colour. There were some bright colours down here, but mainly it was this sort of I think like a blush pink, really, or rose pink, and it does. So can people not see the slides? Tom, can you see the slides?
I'm just double checking. I think, yeah.
All right, great. Sorry, it's just I saw your thing. I thought, oh, no one see them. Right, so I'll carry on. This sort of it goes actually really well with the rose, with the brushed gold. So that's maybe why the two have come out together, that actually designers have thought as a combination, these two go really, really well together. Something that's been coming through as a trend for a long time now is texture, and we've seen it in furniture quite a lot, but it seemed to come through in absolutely every single category, bathroom category at KBB. So we've got it in the shower screens here. I've just put a close-up there of what that one is, because texture is quite hard to photograph on your phone. So I photographed them, and then when I look at the picture, you can't actually see the texture properly. So that's just a close-up of what that shower screen was like. It's here on all the ceramics, on the toilet basins, on the so the toilet bowls and the basins. It's also on the taps, and it's on the baths. So I think it's something that's been coming through for a while, and I think it's very much in the mainstream now because it's there across all categories. Biophilia is something that has been sort of coming through in the background as well, and has been pushed by a lot of the designers, and it was certainly very evident at KBB. And this is all about bringing nature indoors. And whilst it's been tried quite a few signs of putting a lot of plants in bathrooms and kitchens and sort of that way of bringing out nature indoors. But actually what we saw at KBB was a lot of these very big, bold wallpapers and tiles, and lots of greenery and animals, and just really, really bold colours. And again, this goes really well with the brushed gold, and also with the gunmetal. So it's quite a lush colour that we've got in here, and very green. And this here was quite interesting. This was a moving background. I don't know whether that actually shows on that background, all moves. So that was like a feature behind the bath. But biophilia is basically bringing nature indoors. And what we found from consumers as well, when we've asked them to show their ideal bathroom, is that they want greenery in their bathroom. And another way of bringing nature indoors is also having natural light. And that's another thing that's very key for consumers in their bathrooms. Whoops. Mirrors, hundreds of mirrors at the show, and lit mirrors, which were very, very popular. And they were just at every single stand, these great mirrors, and whether they were, some of them were wireless ready, so you can play music through them, or see the news and that kind of thing. And one that was interesting, I think it was Sensio, they had one that was a retrofit mirror, which I thought was really interesting, but I found that I didn't actually take a photograph of it. But I think that was quite an interesting innovation, that these are now so popular. If you can retrofit them, then that's a really great way of being able to sell more of these. We did actually say, which was slightly disappointing, there wasn't as much innovation as we would like to have seen, but we couldn't really not mention the Hydaloo, which won the People's Choice Award, which got a lot of interest. And I don't know whether this will play on. Right, and play it, but that basically was their display stand that they had, which showed how it worked. But that was really the main innovation that we saw. So that's why I've just put it in here as a matter of interest. But it did get an awful lot of people interested in this kind of product for things like multi-generational homes, for the smaller homes, more compact homes. And it's a really good product. And that was it really from KBB's. Tom, do you want to add anything to that?
No, I'm going to plough straight ahead with lessons from KBIS. Jane and myself are really, really keen to take any questions, or to actually get your feedback and your interpretation of the two shows. So please do tap in your thoughts in either the Q&A or the chat boxes. We'd be really, really keen, especially if you've got a difference of opinion, if you think there's some key trends either that we've missed or you think we've got it slightly wrong. This is just our interpretation and the lessons we took from the show, so we're keen to see if you took different lessons. So yeah, ploughing ahead with KBIS. This took place the week before the KBB show in Birmingham. This took place in Las Vegas, as it has done for the last 2 years now. BMA attended really through the auspices of the Global Connect programme, which we've been partnering with NKBA on for 3 years now, and the inaugural UK Pavilion, which we'll discuss in a bit more detail in a moment. But that's why we were there, and we did manage to get around the show between us. It was Amy and I in attendance, and these were the observations that we took away. So first of all, in brassware, there was very definitely a kind of consolidation around 4 finishes at the show, pretty much universally across all brands stands. And those 4 finishes were brushed chrome, brushed nickel, which is a little lighter, I think, than the gunmetal, which Jane showed on her slides. Matte black is now pretty ubiquitous. And a lot more popular in the US than here in the UK, particularly among the design communities. Polished chrome, that's still got a big place within the US market. So here you can see a kind of selection of pictures from across the show, and in the bottom left hand corner there, the exception that proves the rule. There was one stand that had a bit of coloured brassware out there, but it really, there was a consolidation around these 4 finishes. In terms of furniture, it was all about natural wood. So very little matte colour finishes, apart from on very few stands. The vast majority had the array of natural wood finishes, as you can see in the pictures here. Something that we did observe was an increase in the number of stands across different product categories which were promoting organic shapes. So top left hand corner here you can see a wall paneling company with an offer. It's a kind of combination of that natural wood finish which I spoke about a moment ago and kind of wavy natural lines, but you know, around the sanitary ware piece you've got various different organic shapes, shell shapes, lots of floral, which kind of fits with what Jane was saying in the UK on biophilia, and then kind of stone, almost like the sorts of shapes that you might expect to see on the beach. This was a collaboration, Kohler and Daniel Arsham. It's quite a beautiful natural basin. And there was a whole range that went alongside that. So organic shapes had greater prevalence at this show. And running contrary to that was an emergence of what we've called geometric texture. So these are kind of finishes like fluting, like the hexagonal finish that you can see on the wall panel on the right. Octagonal finishes within the ceramic sanitary ware, which must be really difficult to achieve, but leaves a beautiful finish. We were seeing these everywhere. It's almost like an Art Deco feel, adding a real contrast to the organic shapes and the natural wood finishes that we saw elsewhere in the show. The sink there, which I think was from the Kohler stand, again you can see the geometric shapes that are made up in that cast concrete sink. Interesting, but the array and variety of the kind of geometric textures that you're seeing in products, you can't really see on that top left hand picture there, but that's a fluted finish in the bath there, but you saw these all over the show. Colour, a real big contrast to 2023, where you saw a really wide array of coloured finishes both on brassware, sanitary ware. If you remember from this presentation last year, there was the Kohler stand with about 15 different shades of sanitary ware. That is greatly reduced. On most stands, you didn't see any coloured sanitary ware other than the standard white. I've already mentioned the consolidation of colours around brassware, but where you did see colour, it was almost universally green, different shades of green. All of these pictures, mainly because they were the most interesting pictures to take, are from the Kohler stand, but you can see that there's definitely a leaning towards those shades, and perhaps that is some form of connection with the biophilia trend, which Jane's already spoken about from KBB. One exception to that, in the appliances hall, there was a plethora of colour. So it's almost like the appliance industry is kind of caught up with the where the bathroom industry was last year. Pretty much anything that you want, and that it was very in your face as well. A trend that we saw at the show is that the trend toward Europeanization of the US market definitely continues. So we've previously spoken last year about the emergence of European style low profile shower trays being seen all around the show, when previously they've been outlawed by the UPC. That rule had been relaxed following some discussions that we'd had with IATMO, and then in 2023 you saw low profile shower trays everywhere. That's now extended, so for the first time I can remember, you've seen European style shower enclosures accompanying those European style shower trays, and I did ask a couple of people around the show why that was, because the previous trend had been for local designers basically to commission local bespoke manufacturers to do the enclosure in pretty much all projects. I was told that because of lead-in times, problems with the supply chain for those bespoke manufacturers, the design community were just getting fed up with their traditional supply routes, so they're looking for a more off-the-shelf option, still a premium product, but with the flexibility that's offered from being able to take those products off the shelf. So that's why you're seeing, really for the first time in 2024, lots and lots of shower enclosures on the show. Very interesting. Great opportunity, of course, for UK shower enclosure manufacturers as well, I would say. Hopefully you can see a couple of videos playing now. I wanted to speak about the international presence at the show, which is definitely growing. The video on the left-hand side here is the Brazilian pavilion, which I love saying. It was the Central Rochas, which is the government agency for promotion of the Brazilian natural stone industry, and they had a really stunning, I think the best international pavilion at the show. Other countries, the German government 40% funds the German kitchen industry to come along to the show, and they had their pavilion again in force. What you can see in the video on the right is just a real small fraction of their presence at the show. Clinical, less interesting than the Brazilian pavilion and the other international pavilions at that, but nevertheless quite impressive in terms of the size of their presence. There were some Turkish manufacturers and Italian manufacturers also in the international area around the Global Connect Pavilion, and of course our intrepid pioneers on the British pavilion. So the first time we've held a UK pavilion at KBIS. You see the picture there. I think a couple of our exhibitors are on the call as well, might want to offer their reflections. But you saw some UK brands elsewhere on the show floor as well. So Armat & Martin, Cast, which has been acquired recently by Kohler, featured quite heavily in the Kohler stand, and the full range of House of Roll brands had quite an impressive exhibit, and in fact won the second prize for stand of the year. So some beautiful products on display there. So very definite internationalization and Europeanization of KBB in the States. What was there is probably secondary to what was missing in terms of interest for me. Big contrast to 2023, there was really very little around sustainability. Previously, you couldn't move the word, but there was very, very little this year. Same goes for KBB, interestingly, as well. Very little talk of sustainability. And I'm trying to establish whether that's because sustainability practice is now baked in and the expectation, and therefore not really much point talking about it, or whether brands just feel that there's no mileage in it at all. But very little there. Not a great deal of technical innovation, it has to be said. Quite disappointing in that respect. And very little in terms of lighting. You see much more lighting at European shows than at KBIS. So opportunities for brands in those segments. Lastly, I'm going to talk a little bit about the attempts to pull together a bigger pavilion at KBIS in 2025. So we are looking to pull together up to 9 brands on the UK pavilion next year. It's a much bigger space with a larger communal area, and there's 3 options which are open to brands to consider. This is movable. We can change around the configuration if that suits people, but this is a starter for 10 in terms of the design and the options available. If we need to get commitments from participating brands by early April in order to stick to these prices, otherwise the pricing will go up a little. But nevertheless, this is what our starter for 10 is really. So 3 options. One which we're calling wall, which effectively is 1/2 of one of the corner stands, and that'll come in at 7,400 sterling, but that is all inclusive of the stand build, the graphics which will go on your wall, the lighting, the communal spaces in with that, as is the basic marketing fee. The only things that aren't covered are product shipping, accommodation, flights, and any additional stand modifications which you may require, like additional lighting, additional support to hang products and so on. There is a limited amount of reinforcement involved in these stands, but you can hang a maximum of 50 kilograms from your wall based on that. The second option is a corner, which is effectively 2 walls. So it's double the space, and coming in at just shy of £14,000 sterling. And then the final option is on the plan here, C, which is a 10 by 30, and that comes in at 24,000. So they're the 3 initial options. As I say, there's some room to be able to change these around if they're not satisfactory, but this is where we're starting, and hopefully we'll be able to pull something together. There's a few things which have been learnt from this year's experience, which we've kind of built into the design for this. So it's very simple stuff like including underlay under the carpet to just relieve everyone's knees a little bit. There are a few achy limbs on the Thursday afternoon at this year's KBIS on the UK pavilion, because it's a hard floor, but also the creation of a destination. So we had effectively an aisle stand between the 5 participating brands this year, which was great for traffic, but we want to create a destination and a pull for the designers to really enrich the conversations that take place with our exhibitors. So that's what we've designed here. And that is the conclusion of the presentation. So I'm going to open this up now for everyone to put their questions to either Jane or I, or make any points about the 2 shows. Does anyone want to lead off? If you raise a hand, I can bring you in to speak verbally. There's not too many people on the call today, so we can have a free-ranging discussion. So any first takers? Okay, well, we'll wrap up the call there then. Hopefully this has been useful, provided you with some useful insights, and we have 2 further lessons from webinars coming up this year, and Jane's going to be presenting her reflections on Salone in Milan, which is a very design-heavy, design-led show, and hopefully should be some interesting trends to report there. And I'll be doing one in the autumn following Idioban, which is a show in Paris, really more geared towards the European installer market. So we'll be sharing our thoughts based on those 2 shows later on in the year. There's also a